Right, welcome along everyone to the second episode of the Three Fine Legs. We're going to be talking all things IPL and give you a review of what's been going down this week. We're also going to be talking about some of the unknown Indians, the young up-and-coming Indian players as well. And we're also joined by a very special guest, as you can see down there, Mr. Rohan Gavaskar, Nikesh Rughani to that side of me, and down there, Abhishek Jhunjhunwala as well. Rohan, welcome to our show. Thanks for coming on, especially because you are in the desert as well and enjoying it from a very close proximity as well. How's it all been going out there?
Pretty good. Can't complain, Ankur. Like you said, in the sandpit, right where the action is. But I just think this podcast, it should be called Three Fine Legs and a silly point for this episode, because you've got me. I'm going to be really silly on this one. So Three Fine Legs and a silly point.
That's usually what Abhishek is quite good at doing as well, being quite silly. We'll get to know Abhishek's
I get silly on commentary. I don't get silly on the podcast.
Yeah, it's been good fun, hasn't it, Abhishek? I mean, we've been doing the commentary so far from the UK for BBC 5 Live Sports Extra, and we've seen some pretty entertaining cricket in the last week or so. Some of the highlights for you, Abhishek?
Yeah, I think, again, it's just you always want to look at those youngsters who are just coming out of nowhere. You never heard about them, and then coming out on the big stage and performing. And that's probably the key and the biggest high for me in the tournament, in the IPL. I mean, again, Rajasthan Royals, again, been very disappointing last night. At one point, everyone thought they're going to chase it quite easily. And again, they started crumbling. They keep losing wickets in the middle. They need somebody who can hold the innings together and bat throughout till the 18th or the 20th over, see them through a couple of times.
Rohan, how about you? You're in the desert, as we mentioned. How has it firstly been in those bio bubbles? Has everything worked to plan? Is everybody happy with the safety measures that are in place?
You can't complain. Cannot complain. I think everything's worked to plan. There've been stringent measures. Excuse me. The bio bubble's been good. They've looked after us, and everyone's stuck to what they've been told to do. No one's tried to be stupid. No one's tried to be foolish or adventurous. And that's why it's been a success. We're getting ourselves tested every 4 or 5 days to make sure that everyone within our particular bubble is, COVID negative. And the safety measures and safety protocols are followed. So yes, it can get a little lonely. It can get a little tough. But if you have a good bunch of guys around you, good bunch of colleagues around you, to spend time with, it's not so bad.
Well, what's it been like to commentate where there have been no crowds? Because obviously with the IPL, everything is ramped up, the noise, the atmosphere, and even the commentators, like Danny Morrison and Kevin Peterson, are so loud, aren't they? And they have unique personalities. What's that been like, trying to commentate without actually having a crowd there?
They're pretty easy, to be honest, especially for me, because, I do a lot of domestic cricket back home where there is no crowd. So it's just an extension of another domestic tournament. I mean, domestic cricket, maybe, you get like 1,000 people in the stadiums. Here, there's no one. So it's been pretty easy for me. Look, I think what's also helped is the quality of cricket that's been on show. We've seen some excellent cricket. Nikesh and Abhishek were talking about, what's happened this week. And I thought there was a passage of play in yesterday's game. The first 4 overs of Rajasthan's chase, Butler and Ben Stokes batting. And then Nokia came and bowled. He bowled fast, ferocious. It was just an enthralling passage of play. So the cricket has been outstanding. The cricket has been top class. And yes, there is a little bit of the atmosphere and the excitement missing without the fans, but the cricket's compensated for that.
I just want to jump in quickly. You mentioned about 1,000 odd people for domestic cricket. With the kind of support staff and the families and everyone traveling at the moment with the team, is near to that anyway. We got 1,000 people there between two teams.
You're right. I mean, the support staff these days that these teams have is astounding. They've got people who look after every need and make sure that these players are in top class form and condition mentally, physically, to take part in the tournament. And look, this is a massive, massive tournament. This is the most important T20 tournament in the world, apart from obviously the T20 World Cup. But if you have a look at the leagues that are being played around the world, I've got absolutely no hesitation saying that this is by far the most important the most competitive, the most prestigious T20 league in the world.
I want to know which commentator has the greatest support staff, guys.
Well, I'll tell you what. If Abhishek was on the commentary panel, I think he'd be in the running. JJ over there, mate.
He's on our commentary panel, so we know about Abhishek's diva-ish kind of needs. Yeah, we have to all bend over backwards to make sure he's happy.
We have to throw flower petals every time he walks into the room. Flower petals.
He's an absolute diva.
Yeah, we know that. We know that. We're well aware of Abhishek's antics. So just looking at the IPL, sort of just past the halfway stage now, and a little bit of a familiar look to the top of the table when you see the Mumbai Indians there, the juggernaut that is the Mumbai Indians, always there or thereabouts. And then you see the Delhi Capitals and the Royal Challengers Bangalore looking so consistent, so strong, looking in control, which is something quite rare. What do you think's gone right for them? I mean, 2 surprise packages. With Delhi, do you think it's just a case of maturing? You know, a lot of young players in that Delhi lineup.
Yeah, I think both teams, Delhi and RCB, it's actually been a surprise that they haven't won the tournament so far. RCB, if you look at historically over the years, they've always had some outstanding, magnificent talent. You know, you've got Virat Kohli in there since 2008. You've had Chris Gayle in there. You've got AB de Villiers there for the longest. And then you look back and think, why haven't they won it? Why haven't they done consistently well in the IPL? And it's a mystery. It honestly is a mystery. But I think what they've done really well is this year they've got a really balanced side with obviously AB, Virat, sort of spearheading the batting. But then when you look at the bowling department with Chahal, Navdeep Saini and Washington Sundar doing as well as he has. I mean, he's got an economy rate so far in this IPL, which is better than Rashid Khan's. And Rashid Khan is just an outstanding bowler. He would be your number 1 pick as a bowler in T20. So if you've got someone in your ranks who's got a better economy rate than Rashid Khan, you know he's the real deal at the moment. He's in prime form, prime nick, and he's delivering. As is Chahal, as is Saini. So they've got a nice balance to their team, and it's come together. I actually think RCB should be right up there this season. I mean, if they don't, they look back at it and be really disappointed because they've got all the pieces in place. It's just a matter of now clicking and performing on field. As far as Delhi Capitals are concerned, again, you did mention the youngsters coming to the fore and maturing, and that's exactly what I think they would have wanted when they sort of assembled this team. When you look at Prithvi Shaw, you look at Shreyas Iyer, you look at Rishabh Pant, 3 top-class young Indian talents. So when you pick them, you're thinking, okay, listen, the first year may not be our year, but maybe the 3rd year, the 2nd year, 3rd year, the 4th year, we hold on to these guys. We know that these guys are players with the X factor. We know that these 3 young Indians alone can win you a game. So when you assemble this team, you've basically assembled this team with the thought that, listen, maybe not the first year, but hopefully we'll see the fruits of what we work with them, how the kind of work that Ricky Ponting and the support staff does with them over 2nd, 3rd, 4th year, and that's coming. Plus, again, Marcus Stoinis, I think, has been an outstanding addition, as has Nokia. I think Nokia has been top class. Rabada, we know, always does well. They've got a fantastic balance as well.
Yeah, I just feel Bangalore also, the only place they were struggling a little bit in the initial part of the tournament was the death overs. And with the addition of Chris Morris, that has helped them immensely. And he can, at the end of the day, he can come in the last 5 overs and he can hit a few sixes as well. He can do some wonders with the bat and win the matches single-handedly. And I think now the team, as Rohan mentioned, looks really settled and it looks a formidable side. They've got all their bases covered at the moment.
One side that hasn't performed as well as we perhaps thought they would, the Rajasthan Royals. Of course, they missed Ben Stokes early on in the tournament. He's now back, but similar problems as far as they're concerned. They look good in some of the games. They've had to rely though on the likes of Rahul Tewatia and Riyan Parag down the order to bail them out, to win them a couple of very tight games when they're in a losing position. Their top order hasn't really fired as we'd expect them to. Jofra Archer's bowled very well. The bowlers have been pretty decent throughout. Their batting hasn't quite fired with Jos Buttler, not quite hitting the heights that we know he can. Steve Smith, not in the best of form. I mean, Abhishek is one of your former franchises. This is a problem we always have with Abhishek, really. He's played for 4 different franchises. He's a Bengal boy. He's always sitting on the fence. He never tells us where his kind of loyalties lie. I know he's got a big soft spot for Rajasthan. What do you think's gone wrong for your old boys?
I think I'll always have a soft spot for them because that's the first franchise I ever represented, and I had a very good season with them as well. But I just think on papers, there's no better side in the IPL than them. If you look at the team combination, even if you look at the balance of the side, they've got a great bowling attack. They've got the batting. They've got the firepower to hit big as well. But I just think they lack consistency. And with the likes of Buttler and Steve Smith in the last 6 innings, just managing 44 runs, I think that's been the real problem for them. You always look at Steve Smith as somebody who will be consistent, who will always get you those runs. Might not be with a strike rate of 150, but you expect him to score at 125, 130, but be consistent. And Sanju Samson, again, we saw some phenomenal innings in the first couple of matches. But since then, his performance has just taken a massive dip. And that's been a feature of his, career so far, that he's lacked consistency in domestic cricket and in the IPL. And I think the main reason is just consistency more than anything else.
What about someone like Shane Warne? Could he be taking a more frontline role? I know he came halfway through the season so far, but is he someone who could be getting stuck in and being, closer to the action, or is his voice not as loud as it has been in the past? What's the role there, and what could be changed in the leadership way?
It's just a question of how much time he's spending past 5 p.m. with the boys, with Shane Warne, and if he's spending enough time being there with the boys or not.
Yeah, Warney, I mean, he's always a character. I think looking at his social media, he's always wishing the team luck before every match, but then taking every opportunity to endorse his gin brand as well. So, he's got a lot of different things going on at all times, Shane Warne. It was quite a funny tweet, actually, from the Rajasthan Royals yesterday. I don't know if you guys saw it. They said, who this season has bowled faster than Jofra Archer after his spell yesterday? His bowling deliveries over 150 Ks consistently. And then the Delhi Capitals replied with that, saying, Nokia, 156 kilometers per hour delivery yesterday, 97 miles an hour. It was one of those deliveries which actually Jos Buttler ramped over the keeper for 4 runs. So he played it quite easily. But, it is good to see these fast bowlers as well in the IPL, isn't it? Navdeep Saini's consistently up there with the high speeds. And I suppose that's one of the reasons that gives this tournament that extra bit of X factor as well. You've got the fastest bowlers in the world, and it's really good competition when you've got some, great hitters like Jos Buttler at the other end.
It's crazy also when someone like Nokia can then put a slow one in at 135, and it's like, hang on, 135 is not actually that slow, but he could actually, disguise it and do that. He's a great
in the 90s, that was the sort of quicker ball from the Indian pacers, wasn't it? The likes of Venkatesh Prasad and people like that. That was about as quick as they could bowl. So the game has certainly come on.
I'm going to jump in and disagree. I mean, I think that's a bit of a myth that Venkatesh Prasad and the Indian bowlers were quite slow. Javagal Srinath was rapid.
He was
quick. So it's not that the Indian bowlers are. You had a couple who bowled at the mid 130s, but you also had a couple who went in at 145, 148, and could really bowl a heavy ball. So it's one of those myths. Of India not having too many fast bowlers in the 90s, and Indian players can't play short pitch delivery. That's the second myth that goes with the Indian subcontinent players, Asian subcontinent players. That listen, they do well at home, they do badly away. But that's the trend now. Every team does well at home, every team does badly away. If you have a look at trend in world cricket, the trends in world cricket, at home you'll see teams winning when they travel, wherever it could be. It could be to Bangladesh. It could be to Sri Lanka. It could be to India. It could be to Australia. It could be New Zealand. As soon as you're away, you tend to lose games. That's just how it is. But, I get your point. I get your point that it's great to see fast bowlers. And I do appreciate your point that, yes, if you look at the Indian cricketing cupboard at the moment, the fast bowling department is well stocked. I mean, you mentioned Navdeep Saini, then you look at some of the younger guys. You look at someone like Karthik Tyagi, who's with the Rajasthan Royals. You look at Shivam Mavi, Nagar Koti, again, youngsters, just, early 20s. bowling really quick, 140, 145. You obviously, we can talk about Jasprit Bumrah and the ones who are already in the Indian 11 who bowl quick. The worrying factor for India, though, at the moment, from an Indian cricketing point of view, is that the spin bowling department is quite bad.
Yeah,
the
I agree.
The fast bowling department is doing really well. So yes, Nikesh, I get your point that in the 90s it was probably the other way around when our spinners were, top class and right up there, and we had a lot of options in the spin bowling department and not so many in the fast bowling. But we did have a few quick ones back then as well.
Just touching on that point, R. Ashwin, the way he's bowled in this IPL, I mean, he was quite impressive in the last IPL. Do you think he might sort of be in contention once again for India's white ball sides, or do you think that ship has sailed?
Well, if I were a selector, I think he'd be in contention, but I think that ship sailed. I think they're looking at another direction. I think R. Ashwin will. I mean, he's already a champion cricketer in red ball cricket. If you look at his numbers, you look at his stats, he's right up there with the very best. I mean, fastest to 250, fastest to 300. He'll be in your top 3, top 4 all-time cricketer. So he's right up there. And when he finishes his career, whenever that may be, he'll probably go down as an all-time great from India. So I've got no doubt that if I were a selector, I'd have him in my sights. He may not necessarily be certainty for the 11, but I wouldn't write him off just yet.
He looks a lot fitter and leaner as well in this year's IPL, and he looks hungry. That's more important. And I just want to jump back again on the fast bowling thing. I just want to ask a question.
One second, Abhi, if I may interrupt you. When you say he's looking a lot fitter and leaner, are you comparing him to some of the guys who've put on weight and come into this IPL? Because there have been a few guys who've come back a lot healthier.
Who
are you talking about? Name names.
MI's captain.
He's always been like that. The thing with him is
he's always been like that.
He's
but
always
I just want to ask you a question, Rohan, about going back to the fast bowling. The way the trend has changed in Indian cricket over the last 4 or 5 years. I think a lot of kids now, they want to be fast bowlers because they're excited to see the Bumrahs and the Shamis and the Sainis. And, earlier they will only get excited with looking at the batsmen. But now I think that's where the trend has changed.
And I think the trend's also changed because you mentioned bowlers in the last 5-7 years. But if you look at the last 20 years, there's been a shift in the kind of pitches we've been preparing. There a lot of first-class teams, a lot of teams are now preparing pitches which are conducive to fast bowling. So back in the day, you thought, oh, listen, I'm going to be a fast bowler. I'm going to bowl the first 5 overs. I'll get a 5-over spell in the morning, and I'll probably get another 5-over spell in the evening where it's all done and dusted. I'm going to be knackered. What's the point? But now, what we're seeing in a lot of venues and a lot of centers is that the pitches are actually conducive to fast bowling, and fast bowlers pick up more wickets than spinners. So fast bowlers have a greater role to play in the game. So, and that's one of the reasons why you see a lot of youngsters, as you mentioned, seeing, their role models at international cricket, saying, okay, listen, I want to bowl like a Bumrah, I want to bowl like, a Shami. But they're also seeing role models in the domestic circuit, saying, I want to be like him and, pick up wickets for my state being a fast bowler because the pitches seem to be seaming, they seem to be jagging around. There's a bit of grass, there's a bit of carry. So I want to be a fast bowler. So that's also helped, the fact that there's been a change in the kind of pitches we've been preparing.
But we have been doing it in Bengal. So when we played in Bengal, we always preferred to prepare fast bowling pitches because we had the Dindas, Ronodev and Shiv Shankar Paul. We were fast bowling heavy rather than spin heavy. So we always prefer fast bowling pitches. Yeah.
No, absolutely. And that's the shift this was, like I said, this was 2000, 2004, 2005, around that time, 6, 7. And the benefit of that is now that you see a lot of young cricketers who are probably watching those games thinking, listen, I want to bowl fast. I want to bowl as far, I want to bowl like Dinda. I want to bowl like Shiv Shankar Pal. And these are domestic cricketers. So you start seeing your idols at the international level and then at the domestic level as well. So, excuse me. So when you see someone like Dinda picking up wickets, being really successful for Bengal, you say, I want to be like Dinda. I want to bowl fast, and that helps.
Absolutely.
And in terms of the sort of situation with the table at the moment, Rohan, get your thoughts on, we don't like to make too many predictions, but, do you just see one of the old guard like the Mumbai Indians doing it once again, just having that little bit of an extra cutting edge? Or do you think it's going to be, maybe the Royal Challengers Bangalore, maybe the Delhi Capitals, maybe, Chennai Super Kings could sneak back in there and do another job?
Well, I think, the fascinating part about Mumbai Indians is I think in this year's IPL, they've used the least number of players. I think they've used 12 or 13 players max. I'm not 100% sure, but I think that's what the numbers are. While you look at other teams who've chopped and changed and, it's sort of not got the combination right, they've had to make certain changes, certain injuries. Rishabh Pant going out has forced the Delhi Capitals to sort of, make a few changes, get a Ajinkya Rahane in, and all that kind of stuff. So, look, Mumbai Indians have a settled side. There's also, the funny part is a lot of people see Mumbai Indians do well in the IPL. I think, oh, wow. I mean, their recruitment strategy is absolutely spot on. But what they do really well is their scouting. The scouting ability and the scouting network is phenomenal. They are watching games throughout the year in India saying, listen, let's go have a look at this. I know players during the Under-19 World Cup, which happened in South Africa this year. We had a few scouts from Mumbai Indians over there watching Under-19 players, not just of the Indian Under-19 players, but keeping an eye out on Under-19 players from Australia, from England, and saying, listen, this is someone to keep an eye on, even if he doesn't go on to play for England. Keep an eye on him, see what he's doing in the county circuit. How's he performing in Australia in first-class cricket? And if he's doing well, he might be picked up by the Mumbai Indians. So their scouting strategy and the scouting network has been spot on. Yes, the recruitment has been. They've got some fantastic strikers of the ball. Hardik Pandya has not yet come into his zone, and yet they're winning comfortably. But just going back to your question, I think if I had to not sit on the fence, I think Delhi Capitals, Mumbai Indians, RCB should be nailed on as the top four, and the fourth spot could be anyone's. It could be. I mean, at this stage I would write the Kings 11 Punjab out because they've just got 2 points on the board. But it could be anyone's. That fourth spot could be anyone's.
We wanted to talk a little bit about some of the younger unknown players as well. Nikesh briefly touched upon it earlier. Who are some of the names that have impressed you, Rohan? And we'll get Abhishek and Nick's thoughts on it as well. But who have been the sort of, let's say, surprise unknown quantities that have excited you this year?
Well, I've really liked the way Riyan Parag has played. He's got one really good innings where he won the game for them. But even the previous season of IPL last year, I thought he was very, very impressive, Riyan Parag. I think Priyam Garg.
He's got dance moves as well, and he's been teaching Jofra.
He's got some moves, and I mean, he's got that nimble footwork. He's really got some moves. The funny thing is, if you look at the Under-19 World Cup, which happened in Feb, so about 6 months ago, you had Yashasvi Jaiswal as the player of the tournament. And you had Priyam Garg, who was his captain, who couldn't score a run. He just had a torrid time. 6 months down the line, Yashasvi Jaiswal can't score a run, and Priyam Garg is getting a lot of plaudits. And I think this is a lesson for a lot of youngsters, whether it's Priyam, whether it's Yashasvi or other youngsters who are, within the IPL or playing cricket, that listen, fortunes can turn, fortunes can change. You've just got to keep going at it. Yashasvi Jaiswal is not having a good tournament right now, but I tell him, just look at what's happened to Priyam Garg. So keep your head up high. This is just the beginning. There'll be plenty more tournaments. There'll be plenty more IPLs. There'll be plenty more opportunities. Don't beat yourself too much if you have a bad tournament. The kids today have a lot of opportunities, a lot of avenues available to showcase your talent. The IPL is one of them. You've showcased the Under-19 tournament's another one. Kartik Tyagi playing for Rajasthan Royals. Again, was very, very impressive in the Under-19 World Cup, and he's doing well now. Ravi Bishnoi, the leg spinner with Kings 11, was fantastic in the Under-19 World Cup, doing really well now, grabbing his opportunity with both hands. A lot of us will talk about Rahul Tewati and what he's done because he's been like the poster boy for this year's IPL, and the fact that he had a really in that one innings where he had Cottrell for 5 sixes after struggling for the first 25 deliveries. But he's not a newcomer. He's been around the block a few times. He's been, I think, like Abhi, he's been part of a few franchises. He's been part of the IPL for 3 or 4 years, if not more. So look, as much as I would like to say Rahul Tewatia as someone, unknown and this thing, he really isn't. He's been part of the scheme of things for a while. But I look at the under-19 players. I think Priyam Garg looked really good. I think Bishnoi has looked really good. Karthik Tyagi, again, another quick bowler. We've been talking about quick bowlers. He's got a wicked bouncer and a wicked yorker. As Shoaib Akhtar would say, nose and toes. He's got them both. Hit the nose, hit the toes. So he's one to keep an eye on. So yeah, it's been encouraging. It's been exciting from an Indian cricket fan point of view that we've got such talent coming up.
Abhishek, we were watching the young Tushar Deshpande making his IPL debut yesterday. Young Mumbai cricketer, 25 years old, but first time in the IPL. Had a bit of a difficult time in his first over. Came back beautifully though. Showed a lot of heart, grit, determination. Ended up, taking a couple of crucial blows in that match as well. What do you make of him?
I think he looks a good player. He looks a good bowler. And he's got the variations you need to succeed in a T20 level, especially in a tournament like IPL where you up and against the best in the world. And he showed a lot of heart when he got the wicket of Ben Stokes with that slower delivery. After that, he bowled very, very well. And also the way he was managed. It's all about how the captain manages him as well. If they would have thrown the ball to him like on the 17th or the 18th over, his destiny would be different. If he would have gone hit for say 15-20, if they lost the game, things would be very different. But then the way Shikhar Dhawan handled him, gave him the last over, gave him a lot of confidence, and also gave him the opportunity to win the match for the team. So if you bowl the 20th over and even if he was defending 24 runs in that over, but he still managed to win the game for his team. And that would give him a lot of confidence.
He's living the dream. He used to be a ball boy, right? He used to be a ball boy in the IPL a few years ago.
In 2008, the first edition, I think, was a ball boy in Mumbai. But I remember being on air for the last stage of yesterday's game, and I was on air with KP and Simon Dool, and this is what we were discussing. We were saying, listen, who's going to bowl the 18th, who's going to bowl the 19th, who's going to bowl the 20th? And once Nokia bowled that fantastic 18th over, it was, I said, look, you've done Nokia with 18, you've got to go with Rabada with 19, because then you give Tushar Deshpande 20, even if he's got to sort of defend 20, 18 or 20, he'll feel a lot better trying to defend 18 or 20 rather than, being under the pump in the 19th over. And that's exactly what they did. And that's a really good point that you make, Abhi. The fact that he was handled really well as a captain. I'm pretty sure that he would have had nerves. He would have been thinking, listen, went for a few, early on in his innings, in his spell. But the way he came back, he showed heart. He's a quick bowler. If you speak to Ajit Agarkar, who was Mumbai selector when they picked him, he's slippery, he's quick, he's got a good yorker, he's got a good outswinger, and as Abhi said, he showed a lot of heart yesterday, and that's very encouraging.
Yeah, absolutely. And Ryan Harris said he's a very, very good dead bowler in his interview as well. When I heard Ryan Harris's interview, he said he's an exceptional dead bowler. And as a T20, if you get somebody who can bowl well at the death, he'll always have a place in the side, I feel.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Well, Rohan, it looks as though you've finished your cup of chai, your cup of coffee, and good timing as we wrap up this episode. Once again, thanks very much for joining us this week. Just a final prediction from you. I know we kind of talked about the top four. Who's going to win it?
Ooh. Look, something tells me it might be RCB's here. I think something tells me it might be RCB's here. It's been they've got AB, they've got Virat, they've got Washington Sundar, Saini. So look, I think this could be RCB's year. I think they've you've really put me on the spot here.
It's because a new hashtag as well. Hashtag play bold. That's made the difference, I'm sure.
Yeah, look, ideally, if you look at how the team's gone, you think Mumbai and Delhi right now, the cricket they're playing, they should be contesting the finals. But I just think RCB might pip it.
Yeah.
Excellent. We will wait and see. Thank you very much once again, Rohan. Thank you to Ankur and Abhishek, as always. Remember, you can join us once again next week. You can follow us on social media, on Twitter, on Instagram. Just search for 3 Fine Legs. And thanks for joining us this week. We'll be back again next week.